From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter Live, a show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the old adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Knapsack.
I'm Jen Landa.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And we're here for another live edition of Star Wars Questions. We have one question from our audience pre-selected here, and we're going to dive deep into that, but also take live questions from you, your responses, super chats, all those cool things right there in the little chat box. Unless you're listening later on the audio version, which of course we're happy to have you there as well. Joseph, what do we got today? Big one there. Big one.
Yeah, this is very exciting. As we often mention, we record the news show right before we record the Q show, and then we release the news show the next day. So it's these Q shows for us are always like a sequel to an episode you guys haven't had a chance to partake in yet. But we ended by talking about our excitement about the Rey in New Jedi Order film and our hopes that it will be coming along after Mandalorian Grogu and Star Wars TIE Fighter. We remain very excited about it, and our question today is about it. This comes to us from patron Mason Harris. And as we encourage people to do, Mason wrote a longer question that is the question and his thoughts and why he's asking and all that. So here we go. Mason says, hey, ForceCenter Pod, been following you guys since the beginning. Followed Ken and Joseph over from the old Jedi Alliance days. That's a name we've not heard in a long time. But Mason says, first time asking a question. And basically my question is, what kind of threat do you think would be most interesting for Rey and the new Jedi Order to face post Rise of Skywalker? I'm a pretty big DC fan as well. And in the recent DC Comics New God series, they dealt with the death of the big bad Darkseid in an interesting way by showing that there were other evils in the universe that were hiding from taking power out of fear of Darkseid. I think it'd be interesting to see that take place in Star Wars. Now that Palpatine, the Sith religion, and the Imperial First Order are gone, can other groups come out of the woodwork to try and take over that were maybe afraid of the Sith? Whether that be another Darkseid religion, an extra galactic invasion, not Yusong Vong per se, but maybe Vong adjacent, some kind of resurrection of Nihil philosophy or something entirely new to Star Wars. Power abhors a vacuum, as Cobb Vanth would put it. So that's one part of the question, but Mason goes on with kind of a different part of the question as well. He says, but I also wonder if, depending on the threat, what would that mean for Rey's Order's identity? There's a great moment in the recent Charles Soule Star Wars Marvel comic where Luke has a vision quest and actually talks to an image of Elzar Mann, and Elzar tells Luke that the Jedi Order has changed what it is to serve the time it finds itself in or the threat it faces. I wonder, following that logic, if presented with a non-Sith threat, how would Rey and her Jedi now have to define themselves? I feel like a big part of Star Wars discussion from the beginning has always been what the Jedi were. Obi-Wan talks about a more civilized age. We get expanded media like KOTOR and High Republic set in the past. The entire prequel trilogy and Clone Wars are about examining their failings. But ever since I was a kid, I wanted to see the Jedi evolve into their next phase. Even in the EU, we got hints that there's a real opportunity to show what role does the light side take on in the galaxy that is still fighting against the dark side, but not necessarily the Sith manifestation of the dark side. How do they change not only in terms of practice, but politically? Could Rey's Order be more nomadic and less tied to the Senate, like OT-era fans like yourselves imagined the Jedi to be? I think there's a wide open canvas now. Curious for your thoughts as we hopefully move closer to some kind of the Rise of Skywalker continuation on screen. Love the show always. It's helped me through some tough times and take an ownership of how much I love this universe. I discovered you guys in high school when, even though I am of the prequel generation and love those films as a youngling, my friends and I had taken to just parodying the Red Letter Media prequel reviews and hating on them and hating on George. You guys helped me see my way out of that fog of closed-minded herd mentality and cynicism, and how to be intellectually positive and be honest with my own joy. Thanks again. Thank you, Mason. Great questions. Great thoughts on the questions. And hey, you know what? It's really good to hear not only that, you know, our talking was at all helpful, but in our new show, we we spent some time criticizing our generation of Gen X for our grumpiness and hangups. And it's nice to hear that also younger generations kind of fell into that rabbit hole of, man, does it feel safe to be cynical and to sit on the sidelines and know what's wrong with everything. And it takes, I think, much more courage to say, I love this. It's good. Here's why I think it's good. And it's nice to hear that that's a generational struggle. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Starting to think the live question shows on Monday is the Raiders of the Lost Ark of our series, where the news show is Temple of Doom. Technically a year before, but after.
And some people don't think it's good, but I personally disagree.
But yeah, Mason, you're absolutely right. We kind of directly mentioned the pizza roll shills for bad takes in the episode tomorrow, which is something we normally don't do, and it hangs over a lot of our discussions of growing past that. So yeah, let's dive in.
Yes, and I am back in Minneapolis. People are mentioned the lighting. I'm back in Minneapolis to do some more pickup shoots for the film I've been working on. So yes, it's childhood bedroom time, and my fancy lighting will return. So Mason kind of, I think, asks a couple big picture questions of who might the enemy be for Rey's Jedi Order. And how will the times that they're in help define Rey's Jedi Order? So let's just start by talking a little bit about the enemies. Jennifer, where does your mind go when you think about enemies for Rey's Jedi Order to have conflict with?
It really is challenging. If you take the Sith off the board or any, I don't know. Because then I'm like, well, who are the Jedi? Are they more like detectives? Cops, which is kind of what we got in the Acolyte. They're that, you know what I mean, more like security, or are they more like nomads, I think, as he said, or force healers, people just kind of on their own individual journey? Well, that doesn't feel right to me. I don't know who the Jedi are without the Sith, without some dark side users, and that's really challenging for me personally. But I know you guys are going to have some good ideas.
Definitely some thoughts. I mean, I think the High Republic, while that has the clear threat of the Nile to give it structure, we do get to see a lot of the we want to iron out Jedi run around ironing out peace treaties, helping with natural disasters, all sorts of just kind of like almost more like just like a peacekeeping initiative, like literally peacekeeping of like, hey, does somebody need food? we'll get it to them. Are these two planets on the edge of war? Well, stop. Is this planet literally like it's sinking? We'll go help with that. Just which I think is challenging because you need to make a direct conflict out of it, which you can. I go for the enemies of Rey's Jedi Order. I am still going off the tiny amount of things that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy said when they announced the film in London at Star Wars Celebration in 2023. She talks about a new Jedi Order is rising. And of course, there are people in the galaxy who don't want that to happen. So what I took from that, totally my interpretation, is that at least at that point in development, this was a story about Rey going, okay, I'm gonna get this school started. There are Jedi. We're going out into the galaxy. We're helping people. We're being a peace initiative. We're helping people who are in trouble. Well, who wouldn't want that? And I think, to me, that makes the villains, frankly, wealthy people who are already powerful, and they like the status quo. And maybe there's a planet where people are horribly impoverished, and the Jedi say, that's wrong. We're going to do something about that. And some wealthy person goes, well, that's going to upset me making as much money and having as much control as I want. So kind of don't think you upstarts should be here getting involved. I think part of that for me comes from also just reading Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy's Wikipedia page and seeing the subjects of the documentaries that she has made based on real world experiences. So I think it would be fascinating to have it be like the villains are the rich and powerful status quo of the galaxy who don't want the people who need help to be helped by wizards with power and autonomy. And then it'd be cool to me of like, we've talked a lot about recently about how it doesn't always have to be about the Jedi. Force users are born all the time. So like it'd be cool for me if it was like these wealthy, powerful people who just they're not Sith, they're dark side users without an ideology. They're just like, I can make rocks fly and I can throw them at people. And I've been hired to kill Jedi. And it's more about the philosophy of the wealthy people using dark side users as a tool. That's just total random headcanon from me. Ken, what are your enemy thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in line with you on the powerful of the galaxy being the first to loudly oppose the return or a returning Jedi Order. And yeah, Sharmina Ben-Shinoy said that, and I think we correctly should zero in on it. But obviously, there is ongoing development, probably part of the delay, part of it. So I like this idea. And Jen, I'm with you. Like removal of Sith or just someone on the dark side to stand against them trips me up a little bit as a Star Wars fan because I'm just so used to that. But I think if we are looking at a post-Final Order galaxy, remember the center of the Republic the New Republic has been removed. That's Force Awakens, Starkiller Base, taking out Hosnian Prime. We still have this vacuum. It's still kind of chaos. There is a war that has been won. What happens when you have leaders or, countries in our world, planets in this world that are technically the victors, technically what you might consider the good side, but what do they want to do with this world now that they have, or this world they have won, or in this case, won back? You're going to have some bad actors, or you're going to even have some with good intentions who are going to want to divide up what's left, or divide what they took. I'm not saying divide Exegol. I don't know how much Exegol is around, but, I just draw parallels to World War I. Britain and France going, hey, shouldn't we, you want to stake a claim on this Middle East thing and carve it up to our own desires? Sounds like a good idea, right? Sounds like something we can do. And if the Jedi are in opposition to that, or you have one person who outside of galactic domination, outside of the dark side and the light, it's like, cool, now we have our opportunity to reestablish some sort of empire of our own in this corner of the galaxy. And if just a nomadic, and I love the idea of a nomadic new Jedi Order kind of standing in opposition to that or being part of the opposition against that, you wouldn't want these all-powerful space wizards coming back into their own sort of power from your perspective. It's an interesting political battle that you can take to the streets quite literally, I think, with lightsabers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Jedi being hunted, and not just the Jedi, but I think Force sensitive people and children in general, being they are dangerous. They are a danger to our galaxy, and whoever this politician is wants to eradicate them, or somehow maybe he has something that will strip them of their powers. You're seeing them rounded up by a task force. How close do we want to get? It also reminds me a little bit of like the X-Men, that kind of thing.
No mutants. Yeah, I mean that's something that hasn't really been explored. Yeah,
But the evil politicians, of course, have like dark side users on their side. But it's okay that we have these people with these powers because we are the galaxy of law and order, right? I don't know. It could be something there.
I don't know if they will address it and go all in, but man, would I love some story that is the galaxy being like, how do we feel about these Jedi? Partially because it's not focused on in Rise of Skywalker, but I think it's so important to the Star Wars story. Palpatine's done lying. He's done pretending to be a politician. He makes the announcement that the Sith have returned. And it makes everybody go running to Wikipedia and the Beaumont Kins of the galaxy going, the hell's he talking about? And like, mask is off. He is saying, I am the leader of an ancient sect of powerful Force users, and we demand to rule the galaxy. I would think that would be an interesting jumping off point to be like, the whole galaxy knows that it was a Force cult, basically, on Exegol that tried to take over the galaxy because he just broadcasted to everyone. He was done being subtle. So it would be really interesting to me if the galaxy had opinions about, like, I don't know, isn't this woman Rey running around with her kids? Isn't she just another Force cult like Palpatine?
I love Jen what you're kind of bringing in of hashtag no Jedi, no mutants, if you want to look at it that way, and how that could be manipulated to the streets, to the folks, crossing over. I, for one, in a rare moment in my life, I'm actually excited for a superhero movie. I didn't grow up with them. I'm looking forward to the new Superman. I'm looking forward to it because of some of the images I've seen in the trailer of someone who tries to do good. The younger generation calling for him, an older generation giving into the fear and just wanting him to go away or turning their backs to them. Without a doubt, the Jedi returning, might raise some questions even amongst the most normal of people based on what you've heard. I think you're right too, Joseph. Like Palpatine, the mask was off, but there still might be people going, "Wait a minute, how did the president come back? What? He's a Sith? What are you talking about? I didn't read that. I didn't read that story. I haven't heard that. He wasn't like that to me. So who could manipulate that? Who could turn the people? The biggest enemy to Rey and her Jedi Order could just very well be the people of the galaxy, who are like, you know what, we're good here, and Rey having to deal with that and finding a new way to build Jedi Order while trying to change their minds, convince them otherwise, or take out the people lying to them. I don't know, but I like this idea of hashtag no Jedi. I don't like it, but I like that the idea could be a villain, part of the villains.
Yeah. And that the everyday people could be villains and that they don't want them there. And we don't like your kind. We've heard stories about you, blah, blah, blah. And they're showing up on a farm somewhere. I don't know, Rey and her kids. I like the idea of like Rey and her flock of children.
Maybe not. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rey and her teen to 20 or her early 20 somethings. How about that?
Sure. Okay. Your young adults.
Yeah, Rey and her 19-year-olds.
Maybe Rey and her peeps.
Yeah. David Mackay says the enemies are NIMBYs who don't want a Jedi temple in the neighborhood as it'll lower house prices.
Look, we're not against them per se, but we don't want those types in our neighborhood. Let's go to the local space council meeting.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to think more about the philosophy and then figure out like, well, how does that conflict manifest? Are the villains hired? It could be like a very X-Men story where one of the people who allegedly hates Force users is a Force user. But it does seem like if the film continued in the manner that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy suggested it, that it would have some kind of real world, some blatantness about it rather than kind of Star Wars, I think, as we've talked about, is always clear in its politics, but sometimes they're extra obscured by it's the Jedi and the Sith. It's blue lightsabers versus red lightsabers. It's good guy versus bad guy. And I'm really interested in if it was less about like, here's a dark side cult with its own history and baggage, and more just, hey, Jedi want to help people, and a lot of rich folks are doing real well with the status quo, so don't change anything. Yeah.
Igor the Man has a super chat, says one issue: if the Jedi aren't connected to the New Republic as a legitimate authority, if they're not official in some way, they're arguably vigilantes. And if you could take that talking point and get that to the streets, kind of what we're talking about here, of do you even want to trust them? They're not even and it gets into a lot of murky waters, which might be, complicated for a Star Wars picture, but you want to have it big and bold and be on the screen. But I think there's something to that too, of how people could feel about that.
People have been chatting about that, and that's part of Mason's question too, is kind of the nature of the order. I'm trying to find some of the comments about this, about if the Harrison Gibson says, I think it would be interesting if the galaxy didn't have one unified government. Jedi as peacekeepers would make even more sense in that case. JMB says, I think we tend to be okay with independent Jedi because we know from the outside looking in that the Jedi are generally good. In reality, I would never want a group of superpowered beings accountable to no one. I mean, I think that is sort of the under discussed Bantha in the room with the Jedi that I would love to see a show or a movie tackle. Is I think the idea of them is, hey, they have a connection to this force. They have ideas of what is what is right to go around the galaxy and help stop suffering, help people have a peace treaty, all these kinds of things, and they're just doing it. And the critique in the prequel era is that they got too lockstep with the government and they didn't help people when they should. And we spent years many of us saying, oh man, the Jedi, why didn't they go rescue Shmi? Why don't they do all of these? There's these injustices in the galaxy. Why aren't they doing anything about them? Because they're too in lockstep with the government. The other side of that is we could have a story with Rey. We're like, hey, thanks government. We are going to use our powers for good, and we're not going to answer to you. And it gets into very complicated real world discussions. Somebody up here just talked about I think Nick Arcus, I can't find the quote now, talking about it is a little bit like the debate in the Marvel film Civil War about, do you tie yourself to a government or do you
is it related to this one here?
Yeah.
Sokovia Accords, yeah.
I've often said the Jedi of the prequel trilogy had signed the Star Wars equivalent of the Sokovia Accords of the MCU. I think the Jedi need to be separate from the government for a while. Team Cap. And Cap just pretty explicitly says these. Well, what happens when governments change, and what happens when there's somebody that we need to help and they tell us we can't? In the real world, it's very complicated. For Star Wars storytelling, I think if you tell a story where they are the good guys, then I can imagine a very good story where it's Rey has her heart in the right place. She's making good choices. If she goes somewhere and somebody says, I don't want your help, she respects that and walks away. And that I would love for it to be a story about the Jedi are a force for good. And that is why the bad actors don't want them to exist.
Yeah. One thing. Oh, go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I think part of what Wade Mason's asking here in this wonderful, robust question here is the identity of this new order, and I think it's been touched upon. Nothing new from me here on this idea of as you build this again, and you have a chance to do it. I won't say right, but you have a chance to do it again. You get to look back on all the mistakes. You got a little bit of advantage in that, but everyone else is going to have opinions on that. It would be, if I was to start a church this weekend, I would hope I'd account for a lot of, centuries of mistakes that I might want to correct if I was moving forward with something, that I believed in it. And Rey believes in this, and there's a need for this, and there's this need for those who want to set out to do good. And it's, you want to put that into action. It's not just going to be discussions. Campfire discussions with someone in the other. Well, Rey, I don't know if this is a good idea. You want it to put in action. And that would, to me, where the political enemies come into play. And again, people, like you said, people throwing rocks with a little red in their eyes and having their views, rubbing up against the new Jedi Order views. That'd be some tension as well.
Mm-hmm. Jen, how do you feel about seeing? Do you have a thought?
I don't know if this is where you want to go, but I was thinking about like nature and nurture. So if you have all these young people who are born with this special ability, right? But really what's going to determine how they go and whether they use their power for good is the nurture. It's their environment of how they are raised. So when do they come to Rey? Why are they there? Or have they experienced some sort of trauma? Like all these things, which obviously from our world are very, very real. And in Star Wars, it wouldn't go there, but why not? Because if you have all these incredibly powerful beings, someone in that group is most likely going to want to use it for not a great reason, or might not be able to control their anger and lash out. And I could see that being a storyline, which is obviously something we've seen over and over again with Star Wars. So I don't know how you'd make that totally new, but to me, it just wouldn't feel realistic if everyone in their group was good. You know what I mean? There has to at least be one bad apple in the bunch.
Yeah, and how you handle that
Yeah.
is important. But I mean, I think that is it is embedded in the Jedi that it is a choice to use your power. And so many of our stories of Jedi failing are when they decide, oh no, I'm going to make it worse. So I'm going to step away. It's Luke's arc. It's, Obi-Wan and Yoda kind of going into hiding and waiting until the time is right. It's what Rey almost does in Rise of Skywalker, saying, but what if what if I use my power wrong and I hurt someone? I should just run away. I shouldn't. So I think there is a compelling way, lots of compelling ways to tell a story of Jedi being good in almost in a real world way of engagement of we can go, oh, I don't want to make anything worse, so I'm not going to do anything because I don't want to be, what if I'm stepping on somebody's toes versus the personal advocacy of like, I believe in these issues. I'm going to speak about them. I'm going to write letters. I'm going to go to a protest and stand on a street corner. I'm going to actually run for government and say, you shouldn't vote for this other person. I'm going to go out there and make an argument for the things being the way that I see them and the way that I want them to be. I think that is a positive. And I think it gets into this sort of negative territory when we start just looking at the Jedi as cops or figures of violence who are going to unilaterally choose the way things should be, which is why I think, I think Acolyte played with a lot of ideas, some of them criticizing the Jedi, but I think that was a lot at the heart of that complicated story of when is it their responsibility to step in and when is it their responsibility to walk away because somebody has said, we don't want your help. Thank you. We heard your pitch. and we don't want you here. But I think there's lots of room to just like kind of not deal with that part of it and just have it be more like they're good Samaritans. They're activists. They're going out there using their power and helping people. And somebody doesn't want that.
So what you're saying is basically the enemy is a bunch of YouTube or Instagram comments on a video or post about going to rallies or protests or
in big picture, Jennifer, how do you feel about the idea of a story that is unabashedly the Jedi are good? That is the perspective of this story.
That's a heavy sigh. I don't know. I'd have to see it and I'd have to see how it hits me. It's one of the reasons I really enjoyed The Acolyte was because we did get some different sides of the Jedi. I don't want to say different sides of the Jedi, different types to where it's not like they were bad, but there were some moments where I'm like, you're being so selfish. That is so wrong. They were more human. But somebody actually mentioned that earlier. Let me find it. Come back to me. I'm going to find something.
Class will come back to Jen.
I have to be very honest about my opinion, and I'm aligned here with David Mackay. Personally, David says I'm over the Jedi are bad. Actually, takes. I love the Jedi being nuanced, but I think we've been criticizing them or showing them as nuanced. Nuance is great, and I want nuanced characters. That's a bad way of saying it. I think for me, the Acolyte was a complicated and nuanced story, but I don't need to go on and on about the Stranger, but the way the Stranger just sort of didn't address any of his beliefs and just answered everything with a whataboutism. That was eerily too close to the way, frankly, a lot of mainstream media is right now. In America, Democratic politicians are accountable for everything. And the other side is like, well, why ever criticize them? Because they're going to do what they're going to do. And I think that while the Acolyte had really, really interesting portraits to me of I think Master Soul is fascinating and a great nuance of when was he doing the right thing? When did he overstep? When did he do it because of his own ego? When was his heart in the right place, but he caused harm? I love his story. It's great. But combining that with that Stranger sort of like, cool, like I've faced my darkness by utterly accepting it and killing whoever I want. How about you? Like, well, I've been turning myself into knots for decades. trying to do the right thing and like having that, like, they're the same. Like, not in my book. They're not the same. You didn't address your darkness by going, I'm going to lean into it and shake my fist at everybody else.
Jen, did you find it?
No, but there was something else that somebody else said, which I like, JMB. Let me show it. You could even have paradoxical stories too, coming from a nurturing environment but turning bad, coming from a brutal youth but being good, etc. I think that's kind of what I mean. I just want to, like, I don't have. We need heroes, right? It's important to have heroes, but I do like seeing, which we've gotten, to be clear, we've gotten all sorts of realistic portrayals of humans being Jedi. It's not that, but I don't know. I guess I don't know what I want, is what I'm saying. I really don't, and that's why I'm like, give it to me, Star Wars. Give it to me on a plate, and I'm gonna eat it. And it may be freaking phenomenal, or it may be, yeah, that was good. Well done, right? It just is going to hit me differently. And I love the Acolyte, but I know, like, for me, it hit me really strongly, but not everyone. And that's okay, right? So I don't know. Yeah. I'm too tired.
No, I still think the tragedy of the Acolyte going away is the show was, getting a chance to cook its meal, right? And I think there's some intentionally incomplete thoughts there because we didn't get to we didn't finish the run there. So, but yeah, Jen, focusing on the world needs heroes, as Gene Simmons once sang, "A world without heroes is like a world without sun." Like, we all bought that Kiss album, right? I think Rey and the Jedi Order reaching for that high standard. It's they're going to fall short. You're going to have people having justifiable issues with that. And so that's part of what should be at play going forward with the new Jedi Order, right? It's not just going to be simple. We got new robes and we got new sabers. We're here. There's a lot of baggage. Let's dive into it in a film in 90 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that goes along with this, and this is perhaps you're articulating it, Hadga. The Force isn't just about the Jedi and the Sith. Let's open it up and see more for sure. That's kind of what I'm wanting. I'm wanting a little bit, getting like the regular person who, whoa, they also have this weird ability that they didn't really know about. That's kind of what I want. The everyday heroes, in addition to the classic Jedi that we know and love.
It's everyday heroes, yeah. I also like the idea of it's not necessarily a student's turning on Rey. I know we've seen a lot of that, and maybe we don't want that per se, but people within, these aren't all younglings she's got, right? This is enough time has passed. She's got some people out there who are a little older in her ranks, but having their view on it too, and no, this is how I want to use my power, and could they break away? I don't know to which degree, or what are they trying to do with it? If they're all trying to do good, or there's different ways to do good, I don't want that conversation. And I don't want someone to completely be like, yeah, now I'm Sith. This is not the new Jedi Order. This is the new Sith Order. I don't need that per se, but it just the philosophy battles within this collection of students and young Jedi. It'd be interesting to me too.
Yeah, I'm all for the Jedi being nuanced in human. I just think that we also. I want to see them stumble, and I want to see them almost make mistakes. But I just think it's time for Star Wars to have a story that reasserts that they are the heroes, that their philosophy of the light side is what Lucas intended to be a good thing, and then Lucas criticized the follies of the large organizations. And I just think that we can kind of use that as a change of pace for Star Wars, and also in real life, like, hey. People going, I'm going to sacrifice my own life and my own needs to really devote to going out and helping other people. And I'm going to really try hard not to step over the line and disrespect anyone while I'm following through on those good beliefs. I think it is a message I would be excited about. A lot of good Acolyte conversation going. JMB says, I took Acolyte less as a Jedi bad story, but a Jedi make mistakes too story. And just for myself, for my own clarity, I that's what I got from the show. That is not what I got from other people in my life talking about the show, The Acolyte. So there's some nuance there for me of like, yeah, I think the show just explored Jedi make mistakes too, and this is the era where they're beginning to make more mistakes and fall. And I thought the show was fascinating for that. I just was surrounded by people saying, "Yep, the Jedi are creepy cops who kidnap children, and they're actually the bad thing in the galaxy, and the whole galaxy would be fine if there never were Jedi." And like, I just heard a lot of that in my own personal life and online, and that's not what I took from the Acolyte, but that's what a lot of people took from the Acolyte in my life, which is some of the damage I took.
Yeah. See, I told you. I've been saying this in 1977. Horrible people. Yeah.
I think the Justice for the Jedi, which I think would be really, now I'm thinking about things, would be interesting, is the discipline that is required to have this incredible power and use it for good. That is a fascinating thing. It's like when I see people who are incredibly fit and ripped, I'm like, wow, good on you. I know the discipline that it took to get to that point is not easy, right? And so we, like you're saying, Joseph, we see the characters struggle and it doesn't come easy to them. And that's the conflict, the inner conflict. It's not necessarily going bad or good, but it's like, I don't know. It's the meditation and the commitment that is required to be a Jedi. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like the Jedi aren't perfect and never claim to be perfect. It's like we are aspiring to be the best versions of ourselves possible, and we're dedicating ourselves to that, and it's a constant journey. So of course we're going to make mistakes. But then you have, the strangers of the world going, "Oh, you slipped once. You're just as bad as me."
They're like hecklers. When you're a comic, you by taking a stand-up stage, you're saying I am funny. And then when something happens that sometimes is out of your control or is in your control, someone's in the crowd going, "See, you're not funny." They react accordingly. No? Okay. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Ken. You got a comment?
Yeah, related to kind of what we were talking about earlier. Let's see the Martin Luther of the Jedi Order creating a schism for Rey to deal with, and then David Mackay, who's going to get banned, says, "Where did this go? Marfin Luther, you're out of here, David. You're out of here." Wordplay, wordplay alert.
There's been a lot of discussion about sort of the critique of the Jedi. Is falling to the dysfunction of organization versus being nomadic. Ken, would you be interested if Rey's Jedi Order was like a little bit more nomadic, of like, look, I train you, you graduate, and then you go and do what you feel is right. You wander the galaxy, find where you're needed, and help people. It's a little bit of what Ahsoka was doing, after she left the Jedi Order.
Yep, a bunch of hedge knights. I love this idea. And it was mentioned in Mason's statement and question of how we often talk about our generation sits down for the prequels. And we hadn't really, not all of us, maybe, I don't know, but we had not spent a lot of time growing up thinking that there was this large, giant Jedi Order with structure and a library and, medical bays and ships and everything, that it was kind of the vibe Obi-Wan had. And I think maybe it was a little there, even though Lucas had the bigger story in his mind of just Jedi out and about, Ronin, if you will, all these kind of examples of these wandering wizard monks helping people or being part of a larger fight. And if Rey is like, "Hey, what if we tried this?" Like, I've read the comment section. What if we weren't necessarily tied down? You would need a facility, you'd need all that kind of stuff, but like, let's try to contain ourselves in that sense, but go out into this galaxy. This is Rey, a character who we see her leave the sands of Jakku, and I've never, thought the galaxy was this green. Her holding the water. We love on Pisana in Rise of Skywalker, of her kind of smiling at the joy and community around her. She has gone out to the galaxy and seen what is there to protect and to help, and that would make some sort of sense. Again, with a lot of naysayers saying, "Hey, we don't want, we don't want what we had," or other people say, no, bring them closer under our wings so we can control them. We don't trust them to go out and do good in our way. So that could be part of the battle.
Well, that's really good, Ken. I like that a lot. I mean, it's very relevant to, when police are in the community and they know the people and they know the kids and they've seen them grow up, and it's like you have those ties and people are going to trust you. You're going to be able to help them more. And I like that. I like that she would reject the past and say, we don't have to be in a temple to be able to do what we want to do, which is help people.
There's a lot of great moments of that in High Republic, and they kind of nodded at it with Indara's character hanging out at the bar when we meet her, and she's killed, and everybody knows her because she's like the local friend of the community. She's a part of the community and there for the community, and like they did that a lot with introducing us to Jedi in the High Republic, or like there's a temple there, and there are 4 or 5 Jedi, and they're a part of the community helping out in a place that needs help.
Yeah, and representing the best of the Force to the best of what the Jedi could be. Yeah. Ray's Jedi TED Talks. Jedi TED Talks. That'll work.
Jedi TED.
Ken Blue here saying Ray's Jedi seminars. Yeah, there you go.
Pay for that.
We got a super chat here from Matthew McConnell. Thank you for the pounds, Matthew. Very much appreciated. Always been sad to me how it was kids given to be trained. The holes left in these families, to my knowledge, never really been explored. I don't think there's been a ton of exploration on screen. There's definitely been exploration in various publishing stories. I think the only thing that I can really think of on screen is seeing Ahsoka's, village and community being happy. And knowing that was most likely going to happen because, I can't remember which book. Oh, it's for Nestra, talking about how she had an advantage over other Jedi students because she came from a culture that was excited and honored when a child was found by the Jedi, and that she had such support from her culture, and it was a proud thing. And other cultures had mixed feelings or that. I think on screen exploring it in some way would be interesting.
Yeah. It'd be very, very complicated. It could go so many different ways. Like maybe you're a tiger parent and you're like, yes, my daughter has been chosen.
Did you think a lot of mothers and fathers show up at the Jedi Temple going, take them?
I know his midichlorian count is very, very high, and his uncle was a Jedi. Lots of those types of parents, but there could also be the parents that are like scared and don't want to lose their children, or the parents that feel overwhelmed that has they've been dealing with this Force sensitive toddler destroying their home and not knowing how to manage, like, oh my gosh, please help me. Help me with my Force sensitive child. There's so many different ways you could go with it.
I want to highlight this from Michael because I also agree. He says, I'm not too interested in that being explored further because in the end, the families aren't forced to give their kids to the Jedi. And I think that is a common misunderstanding of the intended story. You can dislike the intended story, but the intended story is, yes, the Jedi ask, we would like to bring your child on this path. Do you, the parents, consent? They're not coming in at night like opposite Santa Claus and taking the kids. That's just not the story. And I feel like Acolyte was even trying to deal with that of, normally we would intervene, but some of us think we shouldn't. This is a different culture. This is a special planet. We ask the council. The council says no. And Soul feels like, no, there's something special going on. Like the whole thing is about consent, though, is discussing it. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Palpatine is hiring Cad Bane to yoink a bunch of Force-sensitive kids. So
he's going to time up like a prediction machine, right? To be looking at it. Yeah.
They are not the same.
Yeah.
We're here for about another 15 minutes. We have a tighter out today, so we got some super chats and more questions to get to. But thanks for everyone participating so far. Jed, anything pop out in those questions for you?
I just want to highlight these two. JMB, Jedi pageants coming to a La Quinta ballroom near you. What are your special skills? Oh my gosh. And this one, this one cracks me up too. Nick, Ray's order allows Jedi parent-teacher conferences. The Jedi PTA non-Force users welcome. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine the report cards for some of these young Padawans.
That's the entire movie. It's just Ray having teacher parent conferences. It's just like, oh my God, no, yeah, your kid is He's not passing all the tests. What do you want from me? What do you want from me?
I do actually see that as a possibility, given how much Rey cares about family, and giving the feeling that even though Luke was really there for Ben, that what Ben really needed is his mom and dad. So I feel like that would be a big challenge for Rey to just let him go.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave Mackay says you're failing rock lifting classes after all the money we're paying for you to go in there.
He forced fit another child.
Oh, no. Oh gosh, when you're dealing with the young ones, yes, that is potty issues. My gosh. Yeah, do they have
need to be forced
Jedi
body
diapers?
trained?
Interesting.
Just following up with some of the questions, even from our statements from earlier. Will McClain, pure guess, but my guess is new enemies of Jedi could be whatever established government is, or at least some bad people in the government. That could work. Cameron Stewart saying, thinking about this more, I'd rather have this political fighting with the Jedi being Acolyte Season 2 era story, but there's some elements they can use for Rey's story too. All that kind of stuff works. Harrison had this one a while ago. The enemy is apathy and cynicism. Rey needs to go show the galaxy the value of the Jedi, that things can actually change for the better. People will be pretty jaded after going through all these wars, and I do think that'd be fair in a way. Like, not even say that like they're the bad guys with that opinion, but like you got to sell me on this. You know?
Yeah. Well, and maybe it would be also fun to see, like, Luke's story of hope ringing out, and having other people in the galaxy who are like, yeah, the Jedi are the way to go. They're the symbol of hope,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm getting catching up here so we don't leave anything behind. Joel Davis said this, going back to the prequel, can we really call the Jedi Order the prequels a failure if it lasted for 1,000 years before Order 66, 25,000 years if you include extra book material? I like that idea. I love the thought. It's not necessarily it's the loss. It's the final loss. They lost the Super Bowl. The season ended, but the success that's part of, I even think, what we're touching on even subconsciously of George was showing how this organization started to fail itself, but he's not saying the organization needs to go or the ethos behind it. So yeah, I agree with you there, Joel, in a sense.
Yeah, and I mean, and we look past some of the heroes being shown doing heroic things. Luke is a great Jedi. Obi-Wan is a great Jedi. Qui-Gon is a great Jedi. Ahsoka is a great Jedi. They all have failings and make mistakes and all that. I don't think the portrait is that that Jedi Order that lasted for all those generations is a failure. I think the specific portrait in the prequel era is that they started to give in to their own fears. They became tight. They became rigid. They became a little less empathetic, a little less open, a little less around the people. And in the Clone Wars, man, if you haven't rewatched some of those later seasons episodes lately, they really do a good job of showing how much the Jedi want to do what is obviously the right thing, but go along with ridiculous demands of the government for politics. There's great scenes of Mace going, yeah, but it's going to look like the Jedi are overstepping if we do the thing that is obviously the right thing to do. I think that was a big part of the criticism of the Jedi of, the years right around the Clone Wars, not their entire history.
Yeah. Speaking of rich, layered, political centered stories at Star Wars, good time to rewatch the Clone Wars. Or go listen to our Clone Wars report. Thomas Bateman had this one earlier. How about like a Sith apprentice was trained by Maul, survived to the present day, like the Lucas sequel idea, which was actually predated most of the Clone Wars. So a lot of Lucas's sequel ideas actually end up in the Clone Wars, Maul and all that kind of stuff. It's the Sith sword hanging above the room, where I believe the Sith, in my mind, have been destroyed on Exegol. But there's always going to be someone looking back thinking it was a pretty good idea at the time and that I'd like to bring back. There could be, I don't necessarily need to be apprentice of Maul or son of Maul, but Jen, you mentioned earlier, it shouldn't necessarily be Sith versus Jedi again, but it still hangs over it, yeah? Do you think about it?
It has to. And it has to. I don't know how you don't have a Jedi without some dark side users of some sort. It just, that feels unnatural to me, right?
Natural.
Yeah, I don't know. On a side note, I this is what I'm really wrestling with right now, Joel. I think that training Jedi as kids is important for every Luke. There are a lot of Anakins who did train older and went very horribly for the Jedi in the galaxy. I think that's why I do wonder, is this story, could it be told in like flashbacks? We see Rey training children, and then we flash forward to the children now who are young adults, right? Or is the whole story just about her with a bunch of kids? That doesn't really seem right. But it's just like with sports, like they tell you got to get your kids into sports when they're young. Like you got to train them young when they still can pick it up, right? And then they get to an age where they're like, sorry, you haven't been playing in club sports, you can't really play anymore because all these kids have been playing since they were 4. That's something you learn. So yeah, I'd be interested to see how they do that in the movie.
You finally answered why I didn't make the major leagues, Jen. I started too late.
I'm sorry.
Didn't start playing until I was 11.
It's a thing now. Like, when did that become a thing? It's like
insane.
the Tiger parents. I'm telling you, they're like, oh, your kid hasn't been in it since they're 3 playing soccer. Well, good luck. They're now 7.
Yeah. And the Jedi are wrong for training kids too young.
Right. Exactly.
You start playing golf right now, 2-year-old. Yeah.
Yes. Music. Exactly.
Yeah. Different channel.
I do hope we're talking about all the, we still don't know if the film is Rey the main character, and there are also some supporting characters who are in the new Jedi Order, or is Rey really in the Obi-Wan Kenobi in the original trilogy role, and it's the young 20-somethings, the 19-year-olds who are the main characters. I would love it if it's a little bit kind of an ensemble and Rey is a main character, and there are a couple of the young Jedi who are main characters. Would be great by me.
Matthew saying, I had another super chat which was preface to comment about kids. Good chat though. Oh yeah, sorry, I think I even just removed them. I'll find it, Michael, so you're fully feel as though you're fully represented. There you go. Is this one, I think, Mike? No real hopes or fears of who the baddies will be, but I like the idea of them being born out of resistance to how the new order is recruited to. Yeah, there you go. Full picture there from Mike.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I'm also just so fascinated to see Rey had such a specific journey and arc of being incredibly independent and competent, but knowing the value of family and wanting family, and that just puts the whole discussion of how she's going to build the Jedi Order in such an interesting light that I hope they deal with it in some way. I hope they don't just kind of hand wave it, and I hope that they do something kind of different.
Yep.
Our friend Ken Plume has been mentioning in the comments. Oh, I missed it.
Kaz's dad, right? Yeah,
Kaz's dad. Show. Amado Ziono is still around to be a jerk in a new government. That would be great.
No, he goes on Hosnian Prime.
Oh,
right.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
yes. Or
Star Wars Resistance.
Poof.
Didn't he survive?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone in chat tell us now. No, he's in Ahsoka.
But Ahsoka is before.
Ahsoka's before
Prime.
Oh, gosh, see that?
Yeah, it gets twisty.
All right.
Yeah, too many wars in the stars. It gets confusing.
Yeah, I'm gonna highlight this. This made me laugh, Nick. The Magic School Bus Jedi style. My 5-year-old's been watching the Magic School Bus. I had never seen it. It's with Lily Tomlin. It's this animated show that they were showing in her school, nice. And the kids like go on the school bus with Lily Tomlin's character. And in this one episode, they go in through like a wound. You go in. They take their Magic School Bus and go in through this cut of this person. It's fascinating to learn about how your body can heal the cut. Recommend it. It's on Netflix.
That's great.
We do have the clarification. Yeah. All right. So in the First Order stored Hosnian Prime in 34 AB, Hamada, Kazuda's mother, and the rest of their family survived as have been off planet during the cataclysm. And Cameron points out, and many thought he was an agent because he wasn't there. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But I think having somebody prominently in the government who, doesn't want the Jedi around would be great. And if it's Kazuda, I mean, fans seem to love to hate him. I mean, he was delightful to dislike in Ahsoka, I thought.
He was. We are coming down to the end here. We have, like I said, a tighter out today. So if you have any final questions, we do have one that's kind of more of an other center question. But Ethan Osvetnik 1138 asks, question for later if there's more time. There is time. More for Joseph. But have you seen the trailer for the new James Bond game First Light? If so, thoughts and more Bond Center when? Joseph, did you sit down on Summer Game Fest Day, watch any trailers, and see the First Light?
When it scrolled past on old Blue Sky, I did watch the trailer, and I think it looks cool. I think it's incredibly correct to update Bond for the modern era, and Bond. Many interpretations of Bond have a little bit of smugness to him. I'm not entirely sold on how much he looks like the kind of a spoiled rich kid. He looks real smart. He looks like he's gonna quote post you on Twitter and get his followers to mock you. Like he's got a little bit of a vibe that it's in line with some James Bond interpretations, but it's a little I'm not sure about it. But the video game looks great, and maybe I will check it out. In terms of more Bond Center, 007 Center, maybe later this year when I finally get the film done for myself.
Yeah, we'll return to it indeed. Jen, thoughts on James Bond First Light, and did you do your trailer reaction to the video game?
I yield my time to you. Got nothing.
I think it looks good. I think it's fun. It's been a long time since I've taken that deep dive into a James Bond video game, so we'll do it. All right, final quick question here from Ken Plume. Thank you for Super Chat, buddy. Which Jedi would you want as a teacher?
Wow, that is a loaded question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Okay. I love Master Soul, but I don't know. He hit some things.
I don't think you want Master Soul as your teacher.
I don't think so. No.
I don't think
Qui-Gon Jinn would be a lot of fun. I think he'd be great. But I kind of want Ahsoka. I
think you're more Ahsoka vibe. Yeah, I think Ahsoka works for her.
Yeah.
Even though she can get a little stoic, she gets in her cups a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I disappoint her, and I don't want to disappoint her. It's depressing. Maybe Yaddle. Actually, Yaddle. That's who it is. I want Yaddle.
Okay. Yeah. Going Yaddle. I mean, Joseph, I think I could predict your answer, but I think you could surprise me.
I'm gonna say Terra Sanube because I just want someone with a lot of patience.
Yeah. I'll go with Maris Brood, and it will get interesting fast. Non-canon? No. Oh, you want a canon answer? Yeah, Qui-Gon. I think at times Qui-Gon might be a little boring, and you might. I think I'd be like in the Obi-Wan camp, like a little bit of fighting with him a little bit. But I love him, and I love him as a character. So Kanan, I suppose Kanan, if he had survived and had a little more aligned with his teaching soul, part of the journey was him trying to find that. But I think I could dig Kanan, or Elzar Mann back in the day, because we still might get to go to a bar. I don't know. Plo Koon. Boring, yeah, David. Boring because Qui-Gon's he's too stoic and just quiet. And I think if we'd want to go have some fun and be like, we don't do that here. We don't do that here. Sit down and think. I don't know. Plo Koon.
Professor.
Yeah,
all the kids.
We're out of here. And Plo Koon. But shout out to our buddies Jerry and Scotty at Bombadcast who unearthed what is believed to be the only known footage of Dave Filoni in video form as Plo Koon from an old G4 video.
Oh, yeah.
I recommend you go watch it on their channel. It is fascinating to see and very fun. A time capsule.
Amazing.
Indeed. Yeah.
Amazing. JMB is saying Obi-Wan. Well, always Obi-Wan. I was trying to switch it up with Terra Sanube. But the great thing is if you get Obi-Wan young, he is kind of like the when you just graduate high school and then you start hanging out with one of your young teachers.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Because he just graduated and then he turns around and hangs out with his student. Yeah.
There you go.
Good times.
Good times indeed. Thank you all for tuning in today live, or for those listening or watching later. We appreciate you. We, of course, are ForceCenter Pod. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. Facebook page is available there for your uncles at ForceCenter Podcast. And the podcast is available in a lot of spots. Just search, you'll find us. We have merch at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter. And I forgot to say up top, we're highlighting Fourth Wall. If you're watching on YouTube, the links are down below. More merch coming there soon. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Get into our Discord there. Follow me at Kednapsock or my website, kednapsock.com. Jen, where can I find you? And tomorrow we unveil your new social media identity tomorrow. Big tease for the news episode, but where are you at?
You can find me on most social media sites at Jennifer Landa or TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
There you go. Joseph, take us home, sir.
Yeah, you can find me on Blue Sky and check out my website, josephscrimshaw.com, for links for all the other stuff I've got going on. Thank you to Mason Harris for this great and complicated question. Thank you all for the thoughtful discussion in the chat.
Indeed, that is it. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.